One of the funniest memes is like the SpongeBob handcuffs. Literally, he could just slip right out, right? Like some people are really in shackles of their own making. And I see people like in relationships where it's like, oh, I could never break up with them. And I'm like, why not?
Why?
Are you okay?
Welcome back to Thanks for Your Concern. You are here with Berenice.
And I'm Ella. Hey, how's it going? Berenice, how are you? How you feeling? How's life?
I'm good. Life is good. I don't think I've recorded in here in a while. This is my workroom for those on the YouTubes joining us. It's giving that. It's giving mess, but like if you were to say what does her brain look like, it's a little bit like this. It's a little bit like all over the place, but I'm doing good. I got back from Elements last week. I feel like I needed a good like 5 business days to like really get my shit together. I was tired, and then I had a good beach day, and now I'm like feeling like, all right, that was fun. Let's get to it. Feeling good. What about you?
Dude, I'm dialed in, okay? I'm running on all cylinders. We had like a little family medical event, and you don't like realize when you're in it, like how mental, it's just weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like when you're inside, like, you know, there's this funny thing that our friend used to say about the sorority, like from the inside looking out, you can't explain it. Or from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. And from the inside looking out, you can't explain it. I had one of those moments when I was in it that I couldn't really figure out how I was feeling or how to describe it. And now that I'm out of it, I'm like, oh, fuck, I was overwhelmed. I was very motivated pre-event. During event, just very taxing, a lot of just complicated mess shit to go through. And now I'm out of it. And now we're like, the anxiety monster is kind of released myself. Knock on wood. And now I'm back to being dialed, okay? Dialed.
We love dialed. Well, I'm glad. I hope everything's okay over there. You know, life things.
Well, it's kind of crazy because did you know like Disney convention happened last week?
Yes. My friend is letting me use their Disney Plus. And I saw the princesses and the legacy things pop up. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, but Anne Hathaway was talking about, she's executive producing on the newest Princess Diaries movie that they're doing. Princess Diaries was originally written by Meg Cabot, and I was 10 toes down obsessed with those books. Like I think there's like 32 books. I read them all. And then the movies came out and I was like fucking obsessed, right? Like Anne Hathaway, our Disney Genovian princess. But she was saying like, you know, a lot of women who are like now in their mid 30s. The first Princess Diaries movie came out when they were 6, and now they're like in their 30s, and some of them have 6-year-olds of their own. And so I just really want them to like be able to share that. And I was like, yeah, some of them do have 6-year-olds of their own. Some of them are just trying to like, lock in and like get their life together before they have 6-year-olds of their own. That's where I'm at. I'll be enjoying that with myself, but love that for everyone else who has 6-year-olds. But I thought that was kind of crazy that Anne Hathaway just kind of called me out for I could have 6-year-olds.
I mean, we've talked about this, okay? I have a lot of skills that I learned in 6 years. Coulda, shoulda have a kid that would have been 6. I wouldn't have these skills.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm looking forward to it. Love Anne Hathaway and all of the projects that she's going to embark on. I think what a force. You know what I mean?
She's like one of my heroes right now.
Shall we get into the episode?
Hell yeah, baby. All right, we're talking about free will, okay? I want to say, I feel like I hear, maybe it's just like I'm on career TikTok or whatever, and people are like, oh, you can't just start over. And I'm like, why not? Why can't you start over? And is it really starting over? Why don't you use your free will to follow whatever path that you want to?
I'll say this. Bad Bunny once said, I do whatever I want. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. I think that you can definitely start over in your career. I think that depending on the level of experience that you come in, that being said, you will have to do some free shit. Okay.
There's trade-offs, right? But I feel like you should not have limiting beliefs on what you can do in this life. Like, just because you don't know a lot of people who become nurses at 35 doesn't mean that you can't become a nurse at 35. Like, if you feel like that's your calling, babes, do it.
Oh, yeah. I think that that's the trade-off. I think that you're just going to have to put in work later. When you're younger, there's a little bit more of an energy boost that I feel like got me through things a little bit quicker. Now everything takes more effort. That being said, I feel like the reward is higher as I'm older, because I feel like, wow, that took so much more effort. Now I'm feeling like really good about where we're getting because of all the work I put into this. Intentional work.
Intentionality. And like, you should reflect on your choices with intention, right? Like, I think sometimes I get into the routine of it all and think that like I'm just coasting on life. And then I wake up and I realize if I wanted to do today completely differently, I can. Like, if I decide that I don't like the routine and I want to try something different, baby, you have the ability to do it.
It's interesting because I feel like we're kind of like programmed to follow a certain life structure. And I was just talking to somebody about this where it was like, I jumped off the corporate wagon, but I also feel like I jumped off into just like how my life started afterwards. Like, you really get to choose your own structure. And I feel like that is really uncommon for people to follow sometimes, because it's like you go to college, you get a job, like all these things. And all of those things bring you a stability, which I think is like great. And you should always aspire to have that. But whenever I like talk to my sister and I'm like telling her about these unconventional strides that I'm making into these like obtuse kind of like obscure career choices that she sees from her end. And she's like, okay, like, are we thinking about getting a real job? And I'm always like, no, because I know what she means by a real job. Exactly. I think that you can make something your real job, whatever it is that you want it to be. It might just look different.
Snaps to the real job, the consistency of money coming at the same time. Like, you guys know, I love my biweekly paycheck, but within that, like, you can basically, I think there's this idea that like, okay, so you have this time block of work, your career or school that takes up a really big time block, but we really have hours in the day where we can have flexibility and do some fun stuff. Like, I think energy is a limited supply, but this life is choose your own adventure. Okay. Like, change it up and know that like, if you want to go skydiving this weekend, you just need to like put together $400.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go on a trip. Like, I remember this one time in college, we had some people who literally drove from Pullman, Washington to California to get in and out and back because it's just a really long drive. And people were like, what a waste of time. Like, what a waste of time. Like, they're just literally driving to California and back. Why would they do that? And I was like, you guys have no imagination and are no fucking fun. They are going to have a great ass memory of the time that they literally drove 2 states away for in and out and back with their 5 best friends in a car. Like, you can do it, babes.
Sometimes you got to shoot the shit just to shoot the shit.
Going on a little silly little adventure. Talk to whomever you want. I think sometimes like, oh, I can't just go talk to a stranger. Oh, you certainly can.
I often do. And
I do too.
I think a lot of people have some like anxiety behind approaching strangers and shit like that. I now walk with, I used to be like that, but now I walk with a new sense of confidence that like, I don't know if people perceive it as like weird that I just like kind of speak my mind, whatever. And like whoever's nearby listening can comment or not. And if they choose not to, I'm like, well, it didn't land. And I move on with my day. I think that's like an exposure therapy thing that you can always choose to just like try something new, put yourself out there in a new vibe.
I've been trying to break the Seattle freeze. Okay. Like, I think there is like a social norm in Seattle to keep to yourself. I've been trying to break that. Right. And been purposely going out of my way to engage with strangers. And I have yet to have a like devastating experience. I'll say that, like nothing has been devastating. And I feel like we sometimes like do too much calculus for choices, but sometimes you can just like do something and see where it ends up. And most of the time it won't be devastating, like choosing to do something a little different or choosing to do something like quote unquote crazy. It might not be devastating, like maybe you should audition for The Bachelorette. Okay. Or The Bachelor. Right. Mm-hmm. If nothing comes of it, Is that devastating? No, but something great might come from it. So I'd put yourself out there.
Period. I want to encourage people to use free will to dress however you want, wherever you want. Okay, you don't have to live in like a poppin' city to just like wear whatever cunty outfit that's sitting in your closet, just waiting to be worn. Wear it anywhere. Take a photo anywhere. It doesn't matter.
And don't worry about what other people around you are wearing. You don't need a buddy to wear whatever you want. Just do it. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to look overdressed, who cares? So you don't need to dress the quorum of like who you think how other people are going to dress.
Exactly. You know what always reminds me that we have free will? There's nothing that really sets the tone more than like I walk outside and all the Dominican people on my block just blasting, bumping the loudest bass I've ever heard in my life. Okay. Like speakers, I don't know where you're sourcing these, but loud. And sometimes I'm out here being self-conscious about like the music that I'm about to play at a function. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta remind myself that I have free will and I can just choose to put everybody on the journey that I'm on.
I think with free will, you have to go into it without seeking like the validation, because usually a lot of these examples we're giving are kind of like going against the grain. Obviously, you're not really pushing your limit of like your free will if you're doing what everyone else is doing. It was like, who cares what music you're going to play? Like, as long as you're not, it might not be well received. Let's put it that way. You never know. You might play some bass heavy music and they're like, hey, this is not the vibe. And you're like, you know what? It's going to be the vibe for the next 15 minutes. And maybe we can segue out. You know, you don't always have to read the room.
Yeah. I think it's like free will is just like putting yourself first a little bit. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. It literally could be just something whimsy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, trying Crocs prior to them being popular just to see what it feels like.
Or like something that I do is doing something for yourself for that you usually would do for others, you know, like because having an audience of one. So like whimsy shit is like creating a lovely dinner just for yourself. And it's not something that you would usually like put in the effort for yourself in, you know, like the opposite of a girl dinner. Like you go full fledged into making something for yourself, or like people might think it's a little silly to like dress up, put on makeup to work from home when I literally won't even be on camera for the day. But you're doing it for yourself. I
like the idea of making some DIY stuff for my apartment. I think that might be the next use of my free will, because honestly, now that I've seen how people put things together, it's like really not that hard. You just have to like have a plan. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's an excellent use of free will. If you're thinking, wow, I would really love to have like a Lego mirror, why don't we have a Lego mirror?
I love that. And like, have you ever seen when someone shares like their house DIY and they're like, oh God, that's going to hurt the resale value. And it's just them painting a wall pink. It's like, resale value? I'm about to live here for 6 to 10 years. Why should I worry about the resale value on day one?
Yeah, I see a lot of people that rent apartments that they're like, I'm not going to get my deposit back. Truthfully, I've never not gotten my deposit back. And I've done some heinous things to my apartment. Like I've never been like, let's not poke holes. Like that's fixable. That's a quick, easy fix.
Don't punch holes in the wall and don't tear up carpets. But yeah, why don't you paint a wall? It's really not going to hurt anybody. And of course, they're probably going to have to paint anyways.
I've seen how these New York landlords fix things. I do it. So, you know, I think it's going to be okay. And I think you'd be shocked how much landlords are like okay with. Like, I think you could really reach out to your landlord and be like, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, what do you think? And sometimes they're like, just paint it before you leave. Paint it back to fucking white, you know? Like,
you know, yeah, exactly. And like, I think you just have to do when you're like expressing your free will is like, people need to learn how to evaluate risk. Okay. So it's like when you're like, oh, should I should I paint my apartment wacky colors? What's the reward? I feel at home in my space. I feel really good in my space. My space gives me like the drive and energy to achieve all my goals. That's the reward, the risk, the deposit. Babes, just take the risk, you know, like not all decisions need have equal risk.
The money's already spent. The money's already at your pocket. I've never even thought about my deposit, to be completely honest with you. I already spent that money. That money is already in my landlord's pocket. Do I choose to leave? It'd be cool to get it back, but like, I already gave that money away. Nothing has stopped me. I haven't made any like super crazy changes, but I have talked to him about like, I want to put some things to the wall. And he's like, well, you can have our maintenance people. So it's like, you don't ruin it. And I'm like, period.
Well, I mean, I'm getting ready to move and I like cannot wait because it's easiest to paint shit before you have furniture in there. So we're going to have pink girly apartment. We're going to have wallpaper. It's going to get done. But I'm excited to like express my free will. And I think previously I wouldn't have, just because you're just like, I don't know, like you just put all you limiting beliefs on like what's possible or what you should do based on like recommendations of other people. And so I would say like when you're getting advice from other people, you should just take it with such a fucking fine grain of salt because you have a totally different experience than somebody else.
I feel like that's passed down. Like I feel like I first heard that from my parents, but then I realized, shit, it's my money. It's not their money anymore. So I think if it's worth the risk per se, whatever that risk is, I think it's good to be more a little more whimsical, a little more of a belief. Okay. I think I challenge people to just like believe in positive outcomes more often. I just feel like there's a lot of like fear and negativity surrounding things where like you have free will. Like who did these rules? There are no rules. Sometimes I even watch people attempt to, I don't know, draw or something like that. And I'm like, there's really no rules. Like you can't do it wrong. Everything that feels like you should do it, you just do it. But I feel like we're not conditioned to use free will. Like we're conditioned to question ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that because we should really be like trusting our intuition and letting whatever it is fucking that we want to guide us. Like it's okay if you want to take a cute little road trip without there being like a higher reason, you know, or do just like kooky little activities. Those are sometimes when the best memories are made for shits and gigs.
Like what you're saying about like drawing or whatever is once you know the rules are meant to be broken. Like be a taste maker, you know, like I think when it comes to like art or even like DJing, right? It's like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, well, now I know what I'm supposed to do. So let me do whatever the fuck I want now. The reason why, like when you look at art, and especially like modern art, gets a lot of really bad rep because it's like, oh my God, it's just like, I could do that. And it's like, yeah, but no one was doing this though. That's like the context in which this is incredible, right? Is that everything before it was classical, European, very like methodical. And then someone came out and decided, I'm going to do something completely different. I don't give a fuck what the rules are and I'm going to break them. And that is where we get someone like this amazing art that people are like, oh, that's so boring. I could do that. Well, no one was doing it then. So now, like, how are you going to push your boundaries?
I think it's good to learn rules here and there. I just don't think they need to be in everything. Like, I've met people that have gone to art school that are like, don't just start making art. You develop your own style and curiosity of finding like what you want to produce rather than what you think it should look like. And I think that way about a lot of things, that it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of styles and some people learn and then they have to unlearn things. Or you could just like take a jab at it.
Take a jab at it.
The rules are laws. If you stay within the laws, then everything else, what are the rules?
You know, learn from mistakes. I think some arts, because I'll say honestly, art classes can be some of the most difficult classes that you can take. I thought that art was like one of the hardest college courses that I took, like out of all my classes, because you're like, fuck, like you do art, you feel really good about it. And then you have someone like tear it apart and they're trying to make you better. But you're like, I kind of liked this. Or you're emotionally attached to it because like the prompt was like, share your childhood. And there might be a little trauma there. But once you like make a decision to like use your free will and do something different, accept that there might be some mistakes made along the line. Like not every good decision that you use are going to be the right decision. It might lead to some mistakes, but mistakes are to be learned from. And I feel like that's how you progress in life. Like if you never make a mistake, like what are you going to learn really? Kind of messing up or like happy accidents are what's going to like make you a fully formed human being.
I always feel like it's also nice to have like one whimsy, super positive friend that goes along with the delusions and like the encouragement of free will. Because anytime I've had an idea that doesn't seem realistic, sometimes people try to like project their fears and opinions onto that. and then I'm like, oh shit, like, those like that movie Inside Out. Sometimes I feel like someone else's emotions just like hop into mine. Like here,
Yeah.
enter fear.
Mhm.
When I was like fully set on like this idea, and now I started to doubt myself because I just let someone else's fears kind of like tamper with the fact that like I'm about to make a choice for myself. So I think it's always nice when you have a buddy that's just like, I feel like that's gonna work out.
The good thing about having a buddy that's positive is, to be honest, does a person who has a fear-based response to what you're doing actually know that something's bad is going to happen? No. And that's why I actually like, if I sometimes see people making mistakes, making choices I wouldn't make. And to a degree, I let them do that because I can't see the future, right? So like I can say based on the patterns of my life how I think this is going to end up for that person, but I shouldn't really push them too hard because I literally can't tell the future, right? And so I think that's why it's beneficial to like kind of like assume positive intent and being a glass half full type of friend, is because can you really predict when your friend's going to crash and burn? Not unless they're doing something fucking objectively nuts.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people have an excellent use of free will in toxic relationships, and like don't carry that to the rest of their life sectors. And I would encourage that same sort of like positivity that you have over, like somebody over being stuck in a relationship that sucks. I want that to be carried over in like different eras of your life and things that you just want to do, and have like that really positive, like it could work out, like this could be great, this is going to be a great story, and use your energy for that instead.
One of the funniest memes is like the SpongeBob handcuffs, where it's just like literally he could just slip right out, right? Like some people are really in shackles of their own making. And I see people like in relationships where it's like, oh, I could never break up with them. And I'm like, why not?
Right.
Like, like, are you okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean you never could? I think the same thing happens with like even family relationships. I was dating this person and they were like, hey, have you ever thought about like not speaking to that family member anymore? Like, and I was like, wait, what do you mean? They're like, I mean, you technically like don't have to have a relationship with that person if you don't want to. And like, I remember being like goo eyed, huge eyed, like, what do you mean? And then I sat with that and I was like, that's actually really crazy. Like, I technically don't have to speak to this person. And it sat with me for like 3 or 4 weeks that it's like, wow, I do have a choice here. But I think that there's a lot of things that we just take for granted that we could choose different.
Oof, 100%. Sometimes I use free will to get the fuck away from people. That is a great use of free will. I think that the older I've gotten, I realize that like some friendships just brought me a lot of like anxiety. And I don't really have to put myself in those positions, even if I'm in close proximity via work relations and shit like that. You ever had some work relations or places where you are trying to grow in a certain field and you find yourself that the people they're like kind of on my vibe, kind of don't want to be your friend. And I've been a lot better at being like, I actually don't have to like stick around too long. I could just like do my job and be pleasant and be great at my job and then get the fuck out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Like external relationships don't really serve me. And I just like, don't feel like this is aligns with me, but like, I can just leave. I don't have to like try to stay in here.
This might be like a little thing, but I remember we had this work colleague where every single day she would take her full hour lunch and read. Okay. And I just was like, man, awesome. I just, just to make that choice every single day for yourself. I just thought that was like so revolutionary at the time. I don't know why, but it just really stuck with me of like, even when you are confined to like a 9 to 5, there is freedom within that on like what you said of like, who do I engage with outside of work? How much do I engage with someone who might not be my vibe? And like, even within the confines of this 9 to 5, they can't tell me not to take a lunch, and they certainly can't tell me on my lunch what I can and cannot do. And so just like making the best out of whatever situation you have is a good use of free will. It's like, maybe I'm not ready to leave my job, but how can I make it better? How can I like try to make this better? And another thing that I've tried to do where it's like, okay, so this job fucking sucks. Is there an element about this job or like a project that I can lean into that would make this a little bit funner for me and pitch it? Because you'd be surprised. Like me and Berenice, we decided that the vibes were really low. So we went on the morale committee. We started it and people loved it. We became very popular in the office because we were doing all these fun little activities, and other teams were like, why aren't we doing those activities? It's like, well, they just came up with this themselves, and we gave them a little $25 budget to hand out prizes, and it did make it better for everybody. So it's like, don't even
they were like, you chose the right broke girls for this activity.
It was genuinely fun, and it was like icebreakers, and they broke up the week. People started to look forward to Wednesdays because they were like, okay, morale committee is coming up with something today.
Yeah, and I think it made people just talk to each other a little bit more. I will say that works when you actually there's some light in there. You know what I mean? Like, I've had the reason I've made some boundaries, I guess, with work relations. I think it started from my last job where they were like, you should try to mingle more with the other assistant buyers. But all the other assistant buyers in that team were just very no offense, just try hard girlies. And I just listen, it's not that they were bad people or anything like that, but it just wasn't giving the type of community I wanted to build there. And that wasn't the vibe. And I just knew that they were saying that because they were like, you should try to get influenced by these people that really want to be here and work a lot for no money. And that just wasn't my vibe. You know what I mean? And then we sat together and all we talked about was work. And that's not what I want to do. So I'm if I don't feel there's any external factor in here that brings us together other than the fact that we work here and all we're talking about is work, why would I want to spend my lunch hour talking about work?
Yeah. No. So don't,
free will can look like whatever it wants to look like for you.
I agree. So just I guess the challenge of this week is make a different choice, do something that just feels good for you and your soul for the reason of feeling good.
Yes, I will this week as my chance at free will. I'm going to go paint. I'm going to paint some more. You got to start somewhere. I don't know where that's going to lead me, but we're going to practice it today. What are you going to do for your free will activity, Ella?
I'm taking a little staycation. Okay. We're going to just have a little bit of relaxation within the confines of Washington State, right around here. That. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, please like and subscribe and send this to a friend. It helps us out a lot. You can find us on social media at thanks for your concern.
I'm at Berenice and Ella.
We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.